Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Actman situation once again. I've already made a few videos kind of talking about this subject and giving you guys some info and updates on what all's been going down, including yesterday's video, which I'm assuming a lot of you've already seen. Now in that video I talked about how YouTube basically botched their entire response to this whole Actman versus Quantum TV situation, but unfortunately that video was made before one of the craziest things in this whole situation happened. Now yesterday on live stream we reacted to everything happening live, but I wanted to make a whole separate standalone video to talk about this specific part of the drama because I think that this moment really in the whole thing highlights a massive problem that could really affect any YouTuber, and that's been kind of like the catchphrase I feel like of this whole situation in the first place is this could happen to you too. But if there's literally anything about this subject that could happen to any creator on YouTube, I really feel like it's this. So I want to go ahead and provide you guys with this update. So unfortunately yesterday the Actman's YouTube channel was fully demonetized by YouTube. His partner at the YouTube Partner Program reached out to him to let him know that his channel would be demonetized, and people who had channel memberships and whatnot to his channel were informed that their membership had expired on his channel, that it was ended, and this was all because YouTube fully demonetized his channel. To give you a quick refresher of what's all gone down, the Quantum TV guy in this whole situation, he made a video about Elden Ring that the Actman did not agree with, so the Actman basically called this guy out. He made a video talking about it, and of course he's also made videos talking about some of the other things that Quantum has been guilty of, including ban evasion and other things on YouTube that are considered violations of community guidelines and should warrant somebody being kicked off the platform and banned, but especially in this Quantum TV situation, that has yet to be the case. After making all of this and seemingly siding with YouTube's terms of service and community guidelines, the Actman's videos were the victims of a targeted campaign, it seems like. One of his videos was hit with community guidelines for nudity and sexual content, which obviously, well, if you know anything about this situation, that just is bullshit. And then, of course, was informed that his YouTube channel would be fully demonetized, which is where we're at today, where we're going to talk about today, because this, I think, is one of the most important updates in the whole situation. It's a continued decision by YouTube that is basically on the wrong side of all of this. I feel like YouTube, it should have at least known that the Actman was in the right here. He was the one on the right side of their community guidelines and their terms of service, but that doesn't seem to matter because YouTube sided with Quantum TV in this entire thing and has decided to take action against the Actman. So this is obviously a pretty serious situation because, well, the Actman makes content on YouTube for a living. So we're talking about somebody effectively losing their job and everything that they've worked on for years, right, with their YouTube channel. And unfortunately in this whole thing, the Actman seems to be pretty worried that his YouTube channel could be outright suspended / terminated, and he could legitimately lose all of the work that he has put into his channel over the last few years. Now, I wanted to talk about this today because this is something that could literally happen to anyone, and this situation in particular really kind of highlights that. So YouTube kind of got ratioed, and I was the person to ratio them, and this was over on Twitter. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys a screenshot now. So YouTube tweeted out something about like tarot cards or something like that. I'm not really totally sure what this is about, but I basically put in the comments, "Justice for the Actman," hashtag justice for Actman, blatantly ratioing YouTube in the process, and guess what YouTube did with this tweet? Instead of responding to the criticism, instead of responding to the dozens if not hundreds of comments people left in support of the Actman on this tweet, YouTube decided that they were going to delete this tweet so that people would stop responding to them about the Actman situation and would stop ratioing them in the comments. This is proof that YouTube is outright suppressing any sort of talk, I guess, about this subject, because if they weren't suppressing this, there's no reason to delete this tweet. They just realized that they look really bad in this situation and they deleted this tweet to defend themselves, right? The funny thing about all of this is I have a meeting with YouTube directly in just a few days, and they act like I'm not gonna just bring this up to them, literally face to face with them and have a conversation with them about this. I don't know what they thought was gonna happen, but I'll see you guys in a few days and we'll talk about this one right here. So YouTube obviously has been on the wrong side of this entire thing for God knows how long at this point, you know what I mean? And this hashtag that we were talking about on stream and everything, hashtag justice for Actman, I also used it on my video yesterday, is actually now trending globally on Twitter. And I'm not talking about, you know, a couple thousand people have tweeted this or anything like that. No, of course not. We're talking about a legitimate trend here. In fact, when I'm looking at it as we speak right now, It's trending with 21,000 tweets. So tens of thousands of people have taken to Twitter to use hashtag justice for Actman or to talk about the Actman situation in this entire thing. We got the hashtag itself trending yesterday while on stream. I don't know if it's still trending for everybody, but this whole situation has blown up on Twitter and tens of thousands of people have been talking about it over the last day or two, which I have to say is a pretty huge response to a situation like this, and I'm actually really happy to see that this is such a massive response from people who are very passionate about this subject, because once again, if this could happen to the Actman, who by the way has 1.5 million subscribers or so on his YouTube channel, it could happen to literally anybody, which means that if you're a creator with 100 subscribers, it could happen to you tomorrow. If it could happen to your favorite content creators, especially for me, the Actman was one of my favorite content creators, so it could even happen to me someday. And the reason that it could happen to any of us at any point now is because YouTube has basically set the precedent that even if you abuse the copyright features on their platform, even if you make homophobic comments and say ridiculous things on their platform, or off their platform even, and then you also go as far as to like ban, evade, and do all these other things, YouTube will side with that person over you in any sort of dispute. For instance, somebody who doesn't like my videos or doesn't like something that I've said in one of my videos could one day just come along and copyright claim the video, and YouTube could completely botch the response to it, and next thing you know, somebody who targeted me in an unfair, unjust way and blatantly illegal way, if you're abusing copyright, by the way, and even if something like that were to happen, YouTube wouldn't care. YouTube would not do anything to protect you or to make the situation right for you. In fact, they would actively make the situation worse. They would go out of their way to mess up even worse and to make the situation even more of a headache than it needs to be. Now, if you want to participate in trying to help this situation, I encourage you to go onto Twitter and use hashtag justice for Actman, or to at least use the phrase the Actman to keep this trending. One of the best ways that people have found to get YouTube to kind of pay attention to you when you tweet things like this, just simply tweet like @YouTube, hey, I'm having trouble with my YouTube premium, hashtag justice for Actman. Because if you just simply tweet something like, oh, you know, screw YouTube, you guys messed this situation up, they're not going to read it. They're not going to pay any attention. But if you say something like, hey, I'm having trouble purchasing YouTube Premium, or hey, I'm having problems purchasing YouTube TV, suddenly when they believe it affects their bottom line, that's when they actually seem to care. So I do want to go ahead and say too, please do not spam any of these outlets. Do not make like 40 or 50 tweets to try to keep this trending. There are plenty of other people who are going to tweet this stuff, but I feel like that's really the best way to get YouTube's attention. And like I said, I'm going to bring this up directly in my meeting with them in a few days too. So, but once again, if this could happen to the Actman, or it could happen to anyone else who's been the subject of something like this, just think it could happen to your favorite creators too. And that's part of the reason that in the last year and a half or so, I've made so many different efforts to branch my content out beyond just YouTube. For instance, for $10 a month, you can get a Watch Optimus subscription and you can watch exclusive videos that I make. I have things such as Optiworld that I've been developing and working on and whatnot to give myself platforms that I have more control over outside of YouTube in case something like this were to happen. And I even signed an exclusive deal with Facebook to make content for their platform as well. So I've done things to try and branch myself out of just YouTube, because I've realized over the last few years that you're basically on a whim when you're on this platform. Whatever YouTube wants to happen is what's going to happen. And even if it's the right thing, even if it's the wrong thing, you're out of control of it no matter what happens. And the best way to prevent yourself from being caught up, I guess, in the tidal waves that could be YouTube's monumentous destructive decisions. I'm not even sure if monumentous is a word. Did we just invent a word in a video? But even if you're subject to these tidal waves of decisions and whatnot, at least you have other platforms that you can back yourself up with. For instance, if I were kicked off of YouTube today, I would still be able to make content for Optiworld and for Facebook, and people would be able to still, you know, watch my content and stuff like that. So I definitely encourage all creators to make moves like this, because you really never know what could happen on this platform. And when you look at situations like this, honestly, this is one of the worst decisions YouTube has ever made. Like, the consequences of this decision are actually horrible. And not only just for the Actman, but for everybody on this platform. So if you really care to help, once again, hashtag justice for Actman. It's time to get YouTube's attention and make them fix this decision, because something about this is fishy. I don't know if it's somebody at YouTube that's doing all this, or if they just are incompetent. I don't know, but at the end of the day, this is terrible. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Facebook @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below, and until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, thanking my channel members extra for this one, and signing out.